mother's life balance shifted drastically as she moved from a Holocaust survivor to a young pioneer in Israel, to a mother, a grandmother, and a great-grandmother. My mother's early years, from birth until she was 13 years old, were stable and uneventful. Her father was a successful tanner who sustained his family. She attended a Beit Yaakov Jewish cemetery and lived an Orthodox Jewish life. That was her balance. At the age of 13, her balance shifted when the Nazis invaded Poland. Soon followed tumult, chaos, and death to my mother's family and the Jewish world. It was a total wipeout. At the age of 13, in my life, my worst concern was if I could organize my friends to play ball or go surfing. Yes, surfing was my wipeout. While I was avoiding standard household chores at the age of 13, mother at the age of 13 was enslaved in a war camp to build munitions to kill not only the enemy of Nazism, but her own Jewish people. Anyone refusing to work would not get 40 lashes. They would get a bullet in the brain. At age 16, my supreme goal was to get a driver license and a car to drive. Her supreme goal was to be fed anything better than rats and garbage with shoes on her feet to stave off the winters of Poland. In 1945, she was 19 years old. The Germans were losing the war and accelerating the murdering of Jews to hide Nazi brutal crimes. Mother was shipped off to Auschwitz as a part of her crime of being a Jew. Luckily, in the nick of time, the Russian army intercepted her death train, killed the Nazis, and set her free. At the age of 21, Mother left the death continent of Europe via the aid of the Israeli underground and was smuggled to the embryonic land of Israel. There she married a man who was a member of the Haganah, but her balance was still off as the tragedy struck again. Her first husband was killed in the battle for Jerusalem in 1948. Israel defeated the Arabs, became a nation of and for the Jews. Mother married my father. Her life had shifted from imminent existential moment of life-death scenarios into a world of procreating a new Jewish soul by birthing my brother and me. Now the balance shifted into a mindset of sanctuary. Her physical life became augmented by security and economic fruition. However, her mindset was branded into dwelling in a world of mistrust, skepticism, and avoidance. Mom was a person who had difficulties in taking risks. She had detached herself emotionally from relationships outside her husband and children. My father, who created her sustenance and comfort, was always challenged by her risk aversion mentality. This risk aversion often stymied many opportunities of growth and excellence. Mom was a loving and caring person, but not in our conventional sense. She was never warm and fuzzy and effusive in her physical conveyance to my brother and me. However, she did watch over her children like a hawk. She worked hard at home and family business all hours of the day, 7 days a week, 364 days a year, for over 50 years to create balance for her family and herself. Meanwhile, my brother and I had a hard time understanding her decisions, and we assumed a different paradigm that often conflicted with hers. Our safety, drive, and comfort level took a different definition than hers. I often rebelled against her to find life's balance. My balance of life could never wholly understand the deep-rooted emotional feeling of my mother. Both my brother and I personally had many of life's challenging existential events but never protracted years, but it never protracted years of suffering that would alter our psyche. Our balance in life was formed from a position of relative calmness. We never actively witnessed the loss of our family to gangs of roaming human-like animals. We lived in times of economic prosperity and growth. We never experienced a dark and worldwide hatred, economic depression, cataclysmic war, and its murderous aftermath. We lived in times of enlightenment. My mother lived through times of darkness, then shifting to light. Her light was her family, especially her 5 grandchildren, Rebecca, Yoel, Alon, Seidel, and Gabi. Her greatest moment came when she was able to spend time with Maya, her oldest great-grandchild. Unfortunately, she lost her cognitive abilities by the time her latest great-grandson, Amit Aron, was born. The only drive she had in her life was to provide for us all. The last request of life was a cup of coffee. That was her balance. Now, as she departed our out-of-balance world to be with her ancestors, I am now perplexed and bewildered by the question, are we living our lives in balance? I want to make a special acknowledgement to my sister-in-law, Jessie, who took care of Mother for the last 3 years. In conjunction, I would like to appreciate and give my heartfelt warmth of gratitude to Cynthia and Christine and Consuelo for being with my mother and being by her side for all these years of her difficulties. I am eternally grateful to you. As dedicated by Jewish tradition, my brother and I asked my mother for mechila, for forgiveness, for all the difficult things that a son does to his mother. Mom, we love you, and we will forever miss you.